this is Antoine with another episode of Out and Up, where we encourage young athletes to achieve their very best outside of the game. And like every show, we have another awesome guest. And y'all know how I do. I'm going to go ahead and let him introduce himself.
Hi, my name is Darrell Mason, a.k.a. Debo. I wrestle at Minnesota State University.
Appreciate you, Darrell, a.k.a. Debo, for joining us today on the interview. Thank you, man, for being with us.
Appreciate it.
You ready to get into the questions?
Yes, sir.
Here we go. Where are you originally from, born and raised?
Chicago, Illinois. Robert Taylor home, South Side, moving around East Side, South Side, Chicago.
That's awesome. And so I'm going to pause already, y'all, because anybody that know me long time know that I'm a diehard Chicago Bears fan. So for me, I feel like this is my connection to Chicago. I ain't never been to Chicago, never been to a game at Soldier Field, but I got Debo representing the Chi with us. So, man, thank you for giving me this opportunity to feel like I'm in Chicago.
Appreciate it. I appreciate it.
So that's cool. When did you start wrestling?
I started wrestling. It's funny because the gold medalist Gabe Stevenson, he made me quit when we was younger.
Who was that?
Gabe Stevenson.
Okay.
He made me quit when we was younger. I quit wrestling. But I started wrestling when I was like 9 years old.
Okay. All right. Did you play any other sports in your youth?
Yeah, I played football. I played middle linebacker and running back.
All right. So when did you transition to solely focusing on wrestling?
So it's kind of crazy because my high school coach was like, "Kid, I know you from somewhere." And I tried to like ease past him one day because he kept like, he kept trying to put the wrestling thing. I'm like, nah, I want to stay over here with football because I was getting like the D2, D1, like low D1, D2 offers for football. And he was like, "You used to wrestle for Harvey Twisters?" I was like, "No, that ain't me." Then he called the coaches from over there. He was like, "Oh, yeah, he used to wrestle us, but he quit back in the day, like this and that." Then they got in contact with then he like, "Man, come over here, wrestle." Like then freshman year I ain't come out and wrestle. I told her I was gonna come out and wrestle. Then sophomore year, that's when me and him built a connection. Then we started talking. Then I came out for wrestling.
That's cool. So explain to those that don't know, like when it comes to wrestling, we know with your big sports like basketball and baseball and football, they have all these travel leagues. People are able to play AAU and travel ball at a young level. So how does that work with wrestling? Wrestling, was there like a rec center league? Like how did you get in wrestling so early?
So it's still just like that. Still traveling like where you gotta go. Like so like they got IKWF in Illinois. Like every state is different. Then once you get to high school, it's state. Like you got tournaments, the RORAC, Ironman, stuff like that. It's pretty good.
Cool. So what influenced you from both sports, from wrestling and even football? What influenced you to get into sports?
To get off the streets type thing. Like, oh, you got to do something. And I was like, see, like, why you don't wrestle no more than that, this and that. But I know I wanted to play football so bad. Then a lot of stuff in Chicago she didn't want me to see. Like, she didn't want me to be like certain people, like, and it was just like, I got to be different type thing.
Got you. And that's awesome. So, from the background, I know when people are not really from an area, all we're privy to is just what we see on the news and what we see. Did you endure or see a lot, from a distance? Being from Paterson, New Jersey, I went through a whole different thing in Jersey. So I know every city is different. Did you endure a lot of what the world sees as being Chicago in this rough place? Did you see a lot of that?
Yeah, so like I seen one of my good friends, like I was like 7, turning 8. I saw my best friend get kicked right in front of me, and I saw it was like over some foolish stuff over a basketball game. People got shooting, then they didn't know it was a little kid outside. But we was playing, then we was going home. He got shot, in the head. It's a lot of stuff where even though it's like it's typical black on black crime or whatever, but it's not bad as like people think. Like it's like they looking like a lot of look out but not looking in. Like they don't know what's really going on. It's a lot of stuff behind a lot of things. But don't get me wrong, Chicago, Bruce, every city like got their own little bad places, like where people go, where not go, things
That's
like
true.
that. And it's it really like defined, but like they make Chicago like because we have more kills in Iraq that year in 1 year, then it just
Wow.
makes me like so it's like really crazy.
Wow. Wow. And I totally can kind of feel what you're saying. Again, born and raised in the city I'm from in Patterson. I've gone from Patterson to Sumter, South Carolina, to Fayetteville, North Carolina. And anybody that's lived in each one of those areas have had their stuff. And so it's I can say today those things help to build me to be who I am. It's built me to have the love that I have for community and really giving back and mentoring. So what are some ways going through and seeing the things that you've seen in Chicago? What are some ways it's kind of built you to be who you are today?
I mean, family. My grandma and my mama and my big cousin, they play that.
Gotcha. That's good.
They was like, so majority of my older cousins, they were like, you're not finna do what we do. You're not finna be like us. Like, you got something different. Like, you got a ball, you got wrestling, you know? So even though, like, I hanged around, like, seen things or walked into some things, they were like, you ain't, nah, it's over with.
That's good. You know, it's always good to have a good surrounding to kind of help you. We know, and I'm sure you know, there's people that we may have grown up with that didn't necessarily have that family circle to kind of keep them out of stuff. So the blessing is that you had that surrounding, you know, people to kind of motivate you and say, hey, you're not going down this road. We're going to get back to the sports. I'm going to ask this question. So did you ever have any aspirations or any goals, with football or wrestling to play at the highest level? When did you kind of develop the mindset that, hey, I want to wrestle? Or did you ever have any aspirations, even with football, to play at the highest level?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because I wanted to do both at college level, but then coaches was like, no, you got to pick one. Because I didn't know. Because, you know, like, so basically, like, people don't know is like, once you like the big recruit, they try to get you to do one sport only. It's like gambling.
Gotcha.
Pretty much with college coaches. Like, but like not in a bad way, but like if you're the man that like at your position or like what you do, they get you bad. They want you to help their program actually succeed and also bring around that character, humbleness, and championship lifestyle. And
Gotcha.
I wasn't like thinking of that when my sophomore year of high school.
Okay.
So it was like me transitioning into that my senior year, then my first year of college, me seeing like, oh, this is what they mean by that.
Gotcha.
But it's some coaches out there still give you a shot to play both sports.
Gotcha. So now that you're on the college level, I think I'll backstep a little bit to the high school. You didn't take the straight route to Minnesota State. You end up going to a community college.
Yeah.
What were some of the reasons that you had to take the route to the community college?
My ACC. That's really important. If any kid, because now it's the SAT.
Gotcha.
Take that really important. Make sure your grades and you do all your homework because you don't want like me, like I'm so like, oh, I'm going D1. Whole time before we really even hit to because I supposed to went to the Old Dominion. A lot of people don't know that for wrestling.
Okay.
Like,
wow,
midway going into the drive, the coach called me like, oh, you can't come because your ACC score, but if you go the JUCO route, I'll know Coach Spree, and then we can get you back here next year. My heart, I'm like, dang, I'm
right.
like, if you don't want to be the one of the persons to be like that or feel like that, you have to. Because he even asked me like, "Are you gonna retake it?" I'm like, I don't know. So it's kind of crazy. People don't even know this. Like my so my mom and my daddy pissed off because he got to bust a U-turn, and we went to Iowa.
Wow.
Kid you not. RP my cousin Chuck, rest in peace. And it's funny because we used his car, so my daddy paid him to use his car to go to Old Dominion, but we didn't even go to Old Dominion. We went to Iowa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And so So just because of the ACT score, that ended up changing your route, and so you ended up at the community. What community college was that again? Did you go?
Ellsworth Community College, Iowa.
Okay, and how long did you actually stay there?
I stayed there for 3 years. My freshman year, high school Darrell. So I was still maturing. As you going, a lot of people don't know. It's okay to go to community college. It's a lot of people that I know right now as success for football, wrestling at every level. They built themselves and mature. That first year of college, you're maturing. You're not really. You find out who you are and you maturing. You know. Then second year came around. I'm much wiser now, like what to do, not to do. It's still like high school all over again, but in the adult world where you have to, do I use this $40 to go get my car gas, or do I save this $40 for next week?
Gotcha.
You know? So it was like I started maturing. So that second year, I took a red shirt, and I came back year after that.
All right. So what was the transition for wrestling going from high school to then the community college? What was that transition like?
Man, it was a big gap where I had to improve it because I went heavyweight, and also like the hand fighting and like your endurance and like your will to win type thing. So like high school, you can be talented in any wrestler and you can win, but in college, everybody good. That's what Gil was saying. Like a lot of people like, oh, I'm good, I'm fast, I'm 4-star, 3-star, whatever. But it don't really matter in college because everybody good. Even the most not talented guys can beat you.
Gotcha. Yeah. Wow. So when it comes to the college, and you mentioned Old Dominion, but what were some other schools prior to the whole ACT thing? What were some schools that you were gaining interest from before making a decision to go that route?
A couple D2 schools, small D2. But I was in a lot of I also got like Missouri State University. For football, they D2. I had one good offer. I got invited to the spring game to Michigan.
Okay.
Like, the thing was so going Michigan, then for football, then it was like, oh, this and that, and it wasn't leaning that way. Then
gotcha.
Was I'm thinking like, oh yeah, I can get in, but no, I really couldn't get in. So I had to go.
All right. So how did you handle? Some players don't handle well, and you got to tell me how you handled it. How did you handle getting attention from these different schools during that process?
I didn't even know I was getting attention to the school to like almost, because my coach he tried to keep me humble like my high school, but actually like he wasn't trying to keep them from me, but he was trying to make sure that I did the right thing first. And but he gave me all my letters, but some letters he kept back because he knew like once I seen them big things, I wasn't my head go, oh, but he tried to keep me back a little bit,
Gotcha. Yeah. So you make it through your time at the JUCO, and now you're making a decision to move on to another school. How did you come about your decision to go to Minnesota State?
So I came back with my decision about Minnesota State. It was COVID year. I came off a run-up for JUCOs. Now I'm deciding. So my decision, I ain't had too many to pick from, but I had a couple to pick from. I had school back home, University of Illinois. I had McKendree. I had Northwestern. I had North Dakota State, North and South, I think. Both of them schools. Then I had Minnesota State, and I had I was trying to get I was talking to Iowa State, but they was like playing a little bit, so it was like I didn't know really what. I had Nebraska, like they talked a little bit, and they was like iffy about it. Okay. So I mean, I had a nice amount of schools, but I had most of the schools back home like, oh yeah, we want you to come. But a lot of people wasn't talking. So I mean, then I came in contact with Jim. Jim came down, talked to me. I liked how he talked. I like how he was him as a person. Um, and we went from there. Um, I had a couple schools in our division that wanted to talk to me too. So it was like,
Gotcha.
I mean, like when I made my decision, a lot of people was like upset at it a little bit, like, "Oh, I thought you was gonna wait to this day." Then I was like, "Oh man, it's time, Miss Covia." Um, and I felt comfortable with Jim. That's my guy.
That's
Um,
good. That's good. So, speaking to the young athlete, they're in front of you. What are some things you encourage the young athlete to look for, whether it's from high school to college, from a JUCO to college? What's some things you think a young athlete should look for when deciding the school that they're going to go on to be at least 2 years or possibly a 4-year school? What's some
make
advice you
sure
give the young athlete?
I'm telling them take all their visits. Don't skip out. Just pick because you see a nice facility, a coach promised you something, um, or if you feel like if you have a teammate there, make sure it feel like home. Make sure that everything that they are getting told that that's going to be there, or if they're going to look at your scholarship, like how much money you're going to get there, make sure it's in fine print that what they saying is documented. Because you don't want to get there and you don't have that what they saying, or you don't see that facility, or you don't feel comfortable there in your third month there, then you want to go home.
Gotcha.
Make sure you get an overnight trip to see how people really are, like get to see the team, feel the team bond, chemistry. Make sure that this is what you want to do, and this is your final decision.
That's cool. That's good. So we're going to touch on some of the awesome things you've been able to do in wrestling, but no chance we'll ever see you on the football field in Minnesota State.
You never know.
So Darrell is doing some awesome things in wrestling. So we're going to get into it. I'm trying to find a way to ask so we don't tell too much. Let's just get right into it. You're in your junior year, correct? You have one more year eligibility?
I got 2 more years because COVID.
So 2 more years of eligibility.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I can ask for my 5th year. So technically, because I can use this year and this year coming up, then I got the year eligibility my 5th year. So I can come back another year.
Gotcha. So first year at Minnesota State, correct?
Yes, sir.
And of course, he caught my attention because I saw some awesome things he was doing. Go ahead and run down for those that don't know the things you've been able to accomplish in your first year at Minnesota State as a wrestler, man.
22-0. Standing athlete out at the NCAA. First African American to win nationals for Minnesota State. Had an undefeated season. Region 5 beat 2 national champs to get get a national title. Been a record ball for the whole year. Pretty much.
That's awesome, man. And what is your weight class? What do you actually wrestle at?
Heavyweight 285.
Heavyweight 285. And so it caused me, of course, in my research now, I got to learn a little bit about the sport. So I saw in wrestling, what do you call it when you start off and you're kind of behind the person before you start? What do you call that?
Top bottom position.
Right. So when the person is able to turn on you, they get a point, correct?
If he stand out, if he get out, that's 1 point. But if he reversal, that's 2 points.
Okay. And then I also learned because I got to watch Debo take a couple people down. When you take them down, you get 2 points.
Yes, sir.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I know a little bit more about wrestling now. So I got to watch him in the semifinal match. And I'll be honest, the first match that caught my attention, if you all check it out on YouTube or something, it was just semifinal match. And the young gentleman, don't even want to give attention to his name or the school, but the young gentleman was a little discouraged and a little salty about losing. And there was some bad sportsmanship, whether it was dropping some of his equipment at you, kind of pushing you off, and then even kind of shoving your hand off after the situation. And at the time of winning that semifinal match, did any of that even draw your attention? It don't even look like it fazed you as this gentleman was having a bad moment.
To be honest, man, I didn't even know all that activity was going on. That morning, I lost my grandmother right before the semifinal match. So at that moment, like my teammate, Tommy Johnson and my coach, Coach Allen, and all my coaches, Jim Costy, Carson Hendricks, and my trainer, um, Adam, and my teammate Trevor, that's a national champ, was there with me. I didn't want to wrestle. Like I didn't want to go out there and stuff, but I just wanted to get back on the road. Because my cousins came down to watch me. Because I didn't even know that. I didn't even know he was going to make it or not. Because he drove right when after my grandmother died and drove down to me because he was going to tell me he wasn't going to let nobody. So when I received a message, it was in the final group chat. I'm like, oh, I'm in the semifinals, y'all. I love y'all. This is the link and this and that. And I got that grandma gone. I said, what?
Wow.
And I set my bag down by Coach Jim, and he saw the tears. Like my teammate saw the tears. He like, yeah, Coach, I think that happened. And then he called my name. Like I walked away for like a couple steps, and he called my name. I turned around, like, and I just broke down right there in front of him. Gotcha. And then they was telling me like, oh, she here with you. And the crazy thing about it, Monday morning, that Monday was my uncle's birthday.
Okay.
So I think he got a good present for his birthday as well. Like that was like telling him then. And it's crazy. It's really crazy. Right before my semifinal match and the finals match, I saw two angels in the sky, like what battle bright lights. I'm like, I know I ain't tripping. I wiped my eyes, and it disappeared. So I was like, I guess he was telling me like, yeah, I got grandma. Don't worry, go out there win a national title.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. So, you know, I think that's an awesome sign to, man, just being able to embrace life's journeys and situations and obstacles that we have to face. And you were able to go out, and I know if nothing else, you felt like you won that for her. Like, what are some things that your grandmother instilled into you, man, that really helped you to really go out and gain that victory, man?
Hey, look, my grandma, it's funny. I think because my grandma was the loudest person, but the person with the biggest heart. She told me love friends, family, whoever close to you. Give some. If you can give something, give whatever you can give. Help somebody that because you might be in a better position than them. Always show love and respect people.
That's good. That's good. So in wrestling, what is your what goals have you set for yourself long term in wrestling? What are your goals?
Make an Olympic team, make a world team.
Got you. That's awesome. So let's jump to the school end. We know the awesome terror that Debo is on the wrestling mat. But how's school going, man? You're in your first year at Minnesota State. How has the transition been from JUCO now to Minnesota State, man? How's things been?
I mean, it transitions a lot. You're in a bigger university. You're not in a small dorm. Well, if you want to be in a dorm, you can. You in a bigger environment, bigger community. I mean, really ain't nothing really changed besides like the community size and basically school. It's no different. Teachers still how they are. Gotta get your work in. Gotta do this. Gotta do that. Coaches, just want to be coaches. This is what their job. This is what they do. Pretty much nothing really changed. It's just like how you basically transition from JUCO to a D2. It's really not too much of a big deal, but you gotta get noticeable around your area.
Got you. So what advice do you have for the young student athlete on just being able to balance performing in the sport at a high level while still taking care of what's most important, and that's your academics? What advice could you give to young student athletes?
Y'all just need to get you gotta have a planner. You gotta plan ahead. Sometimes you might have to stay up that Sunday night or that Monday morning when you don't got a class, or the days that you don't got class, you gotta still go do your work before practice, or that Sunday you can knock everything out or get started halfway done. Then when it's due, finish the whole thing out.
Good. Good. So you talked about the goal of being able to wrestle in the Olympics, man. I believe you have the talent to do it. But outside of the sport, say you make the Olympics, you do that on a high level. The goal of the show is really just also, even as we encompass being able to perform on a high level, like really focusing on making sure you taking care of business and knowing what you want to do in life beyond. What are you currently majoring in at Minnesota State?
Communications, criminal justice, and social work. So
All
I
right.
got
What are some non-sport career plans for yourself, even once the sport is done? What are some things you're looking at
um,
possibly doing
I
in
want
your
to be
career?
I want to be a therapist for juveniles, and people for coming out of corrections. I want to be a therapist, or I want to work inside the juvenile and therapist because I want to talk to the young kids, but mostly with the young kids because their mind's not right because they're not getting leaded right, or they don't have that person to talk to them, or they still have issues that they're working on. Learning from the criminal justice system and how it works.
Okay.
Through the program here. Some kids do some things because they don't have that parent at home. They don't have that father figure at home. Um, or they're being raised by their grandmother with dementia. So like a lot of things they do, basically learning themselves how to be a young man, young woman, and
Got
they
you.
from the streets.
Good. I got you, man. So what is your heart behind just I mean, you really touched on it, but like when it comes to coming from the area you've come from, like how important is it to like give back and really mentor and work in the community? How important is that to you?
Very important because I know how it was when I was a little kid. Like my mom was on Section 8 at the time when I was a little kid. She couldn't. Right now to this day, probably she. I mean, I'll say that I couldn't get the shoes that I wanted. I could never get the pants that I wanted, or I could never um, talk about things certain because she was trying to make ends meet. So like me giving back and me like I told my grandma always told me love people and show people love it when you can, or show them that much support as a friend or whatever. And like that's be like a huge thing for me, like to show love and go back and can be like a male role model for the kids.
That's good. That's good, man. So what do you do in your spare time, man? When you're not in the sports, not in the books, what's some stuff that Debo do in his spare time?
On the Fortnite with the boys, or like play video games a little bit, or just chill, watch movies.
All right. Cool. So as we get close to wrapping it up, man, it's a few questions I always like to cover, man. Tell a young person, man, how important is it to have positive people in your circle?
It's very positive. Like you really need positive people in your circle because you cannot be in jeopardy. You can't jeopardize your success or your positivity with negative people. Like a wise man told me, you got 10 apples and 5 of them going bad. What you think the other 5 apples gonna be? They're gonna turn
Got
right around with you.
got you, man. That's good. And so this is not a question I give to everybody, but I'm gonna ask you this, man. Coming from a place like Chicago, in the area you came from, and so it really touches home. And being from Paterson, New Jersey, and I think about some other areas I've lived. You got the young athlete in front of you that say, "Man, hey, this is my life. This is what I've seen growing up, man." Give them some encouragement on staying focused so that they can make it out of their situation, so they can be better than the things that they've seen.
Um, don't let your environment or what you're surrounded by stop you from your goal or what you want to be. Be who you are. Be successful and keep a mind right track. Don't let don't let where you're from stop you from going places. Always set a goal. Always be mindful. Be respectful where you go. And a lot of people remember that.
Good. That's good, man. Anybody know me? One of my best quotes is from Stephen Covey, and Stephen Covey said it like this: "I am not a product of my circumstances, but I'm a product of my decision." So many young people feel like, "Hey, this is where I'm from." Whether it's Missouri and St. Louis, whether it's somewhere in Florida, there's a rough area anywhere you go. New York, New Jersey. California, Illinois, they're somewhere rough. And many of our young people feel like this is where I'm from, so this is what I have to be. And so Darrell just touched on it, and even that quote I always give to people: you don't have to be a product of your circumstance, but you can be a product of ultimately your decision. So like he just touched on, you set goals and you work towards those goals, you can accomplish those things that you want to accomplish in your career, man. So, man, I thank you for being with us. And at the end, I like to ask this question, man. I think me and you could talk for a while, man. I appreciate your personality, man. I think you're an awesome young man that's going to do big things, man. I'm going to ask, before I ask my last question, what can we look forward to in the next couple seasons from Debo at Minnesota State, man? What can we look forward to?
Next year will be my last ride, and I'm trying to go out victorious in another one. If God give it to me, it's in God's hands. Whatever through God I can do. We're gonna have to see what it is. It's the last dance.
Got you. And I guess I didn't ask this, man. I normally ask most athletes to get the kids that side of it. But what are some things that you do to better yourself? Like when you go 22-0, you win a championship, you get all these accolades. Like, what do you do to get better? How do you go from that? Like, what do you do to like? How do you find your points that you can improve on? Like, what are some things you've done?
Go back and you see what you did wrong all season for you can improve. Also, get yourself better. Should do off-season conditioning, off-season work. You got 3 months off. Why not work? You know,
right?
You gotta go get it. Even though you might not be in the best shape, do cardio. Still get that. I think that's why I beat a lot of wrestlers because they 6 month wrestler. I'm a 9 month wrestler. You know,
gotcha.
So you gotta outwork. You gotta outwork.
That's good. Did y'all hear what he said? He said most of them are 6 month wrestlers. He said he a 9 month wrestler. I mean, my boy Kobe said it like this: don't rest in the middle, rest at the end. And so Debo just let you know he's not stopping until he's accomplished everything that he wanted to accomplish. And so we're blessed to have an awesome young man, and we have a man today representing the Chi. He came out of the Chi. He's working towards his goal. He didn't allow his circumstances or his area to dictate what his life is. He did have a good surrounding and people that pushed him. Some of you may not have that, but know that you don't have to be a product of your situation or your circumstances. You can be an example and come out just like this young man is doing an awesome job, not only in the classroom in school, but also in the sport. And there's still more to come. He's not done yet. He's not finished yet. There's more to come from Debo. And we end with this question all the time, man. Who is it or what is it that inspires you in life?
All the great athletes, the great Black athletes before me, even the kids. It might be a thing that I don't know, and the kid might point it out to me like, "Oh, what about if we do it like this?" I'm like, "What?" Like, because I had a little kid, Bo, was back in Iowa. He was like, "Debo, show me a wrestling move." "Oh, Debo, how does this move?" Like, it just amazed me, like how that celebrities and kids is the same, but it's just like Jim said, it's that 7-year-old little boy in your mind, like when things go wrong, but you still a man. But that 7-year-old boy come out, it's like it just amused me.
Wow, that's good, man. Well, we appreciate you for joining us today, man. We appreciate all the awesome information. We wish you the best at Minnesota State. We're looking for a repeat. You're gonna have me watching every wrestling match I can live stream here from North Carolina. I'm gonna try to catch it, man. But we wish you the best, man. Continue being an example, continue being humble, and having that awesome, man, heart for giving that I can see that you have, man. And I hope that my people that's viewing, the young people that get to watch this show, man, you have an example in front of you. There's no situation that he's faced, the area he's from, that he's allowed to dictate his future. He's going after it. So, man, Debo, keep up the hard work, man. Continue doing what you're doing. We're looking for you to do big things. And thank you for joining us on Out and Up, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And y'all know how I always say, it is good to be great in the sport that you're playing, but it's even better to be great in life. So if you're truly trying to achieve your very best outside the game, keep keep joining us as we go out and up. Have a good one. We'll see you next episode.